Many people adopt for various reasons. Whether you can't have a baby yourself or want to brighten the lives of children who are in foster care, it's a momentous occasion. One man adopted a girl that no one really seemed to want. However, he loved her and cared for her through adulthood with no problems. Suddenly, things changed, and he was confused beyond belief. What happened to make the child unadoptable? Was it something she did, or was it something to do with her lineage? Dale Jefferson lived in Street Cloud, Minnesota. This single man turned 44 years old and decided that he wanted the child. Since he wasn't married or dating, he jumped at the chance to adopt Liz Barber, a 6-year-old. No one else wished to adopt her, and this might be his only shot. The police actually reported the information to Dale. They arrived at his door, but he didn't know what was happening. Dale was surprised that it had to do with Liz and hadn't heard from her in 16 years. Why were the authorities here? Patiently, the police spoke to Dale, telling him about the situation. He became very emotional and started to cry. After all that time, he learned the truth. He wished it was still a secret, but he had to face facts now. Dale was heartbroken to learn the truth, but he wanted to see Liz again. The cops helped him do that because they knew he needed closure and answers. What could she have possibly done that took almost 3 decades to uncover? Once Dale adopted Liz, he was so happy. He had wanted to be a father for so long, and he couldn't pass up this opportunity. Even as a child, he hoped for a large family, but he was missing a crucial component for that to happen. Dale was a romantic, but had never found his true love. Therefore, he lived the single life and learned to accept it. Still, he wanted to have a child and raise them, so he decided to adopt. Though it wouldn't be easy, he wanted to try. Liz was already 6 when Dale decided to adopt. She lived a hard life because she had been in the system since birth. It's almost impossible for a 6-year-old to get placed into a home. Therefore, the orphanage withheld certain information about her background to give her a better chance. The people running the place thought it was best for everyone. Liz and Dale hit it off well. She was on her best behavior, and he worried he would have problems trying to adopt again. It was unusual for a single man to adopt a young girl, so he was happy that everything seemed to fall into place. Since Liz was already 6 years old, it made Dale's life easier. He didn't have to deal with the constant attention a newborn requires because she was already independent and well-behaved. This girl needed a family and kindness, and he was there to give it. Dale tried hard to build a relationship with his daughter. They spent time together, and he felt she was doing good. However, he also believed she was holding back. In fact, she was reclusive. She'd often stay in her bedroom and had few friends her own age. He also realized that she didn't come home right after school, seemingly to be away from him. Dale wanted to speak to his daughter and get her to be more sociable. However, he also wanted to respect her freedom and independence. Liz grew older, but nothing changed. That teenager phase lasted until she turned 18, and then she was ready to go to college and move out. During those first few weeks, Dale tried to contact his daughter, but she was farther away from home. It had been hard enough while she lived with him. This made him sad, especially when he learned that she picked a college for that reason. He couldn't visit and check in. One day, Dale decided to go to the college and surprise his daughter. He'd planned for weeks and looked forward to the meeting. However, when he asked the receptionist what room she was in, he got concerning news and became upset. Liz had dropped out of school months ago and never said anything to her dad. She had hidden that from him, and he didn't even know where she was living. He was exceptionally worried and saddened. Still, her safety was at stake. The first thing he tried was calling and texting her phone, but it hung up within 2 rings. Dale believed he was a failure as a parent. He just wanted to raise a child and thought Liz was his dream come true. He decided to send Liz one more message asking her if she was okay. Then, he'd leave her alone. Liz replied with an "I'm okay." There were no other details, such as an explanation of why she left school or even where she was. In a sense, it was cold. She never thanked Dale for what he'd done or even mentioned the word dad. At that moment, Dale believed he'd lost his daughter. He tried to build a connection with her through the years. But he'd finally lost her and didn't know why. Eventually, he realized he was wrong, though it took 16 more years before he spoke to Liz. Dale thought about his adopted daughter every day since he got the text. He wanted to ask where he'd gone wrong. However, he hadn't heard from Lise in years, so it surprised him when it finally happened. One day, Dale was doing yard work because it helped him focus his thoughts better. As he was trimming the flowers, his phone rang. However, it went silent before he could grab it. No one called, so he was curious about who it was. Dale checked his phone to see that there was a missed call. However, the person didn't leave a text or voicemail. Dale had met Hannah a few years before, and they eventually got married. She also enjoyed the quiet lifestyle. He went back out to ask if she knew something about the call. Hannah hadn't, and that confused Dale even more. Hannah had 2 sons who died in a car crash about 20 years before they met. They instantly bonded and connected since Dale felt like his daughter was dead. They each understood the other's past, sympathizing with the loss and pain. Hannah instantly knew that Dale was loving and adorable. He did anything to make her happy and wanted to provide a wonderful life. Therefore, it gave her hope for the future. Hannah said she hadn't given his phone number to anyone and didn't know anything about that phone call. Dale tried calling the number but got nowhere. Later, he decided to pour a glass of wine, and it rang again. It was the same person, and he wondered who it was. Though most people use the house number, he'd kept the cell in case Lise tried to call. He said hello multiple times and finally heard an odd voice. It wasn't Lise, it was a man. Dale was clearly disappointed. As he listened to the background noise, he heard a woman speak. Dale asked the man's name and got nothing, which confused him more. Dale realized that the man was holding his hand over the mouthpiece to ask the woman what to say. He asked for Dale by name. Finally, Dale wondered if he should just hang up, but the man said Lise's name, and that caused him to gasp with shock. The man said Lise worried Dale might not want to speak to her, but he said that could never happen. Finally, she was given the phone, but there was silence for a few moments. He worried she'd hung up, but then he heard her say, "Hi, Dad." Lise said she'd done well, but she was calling because she had to get something off her chest. She asked Dale to listen so that she could finish it all in one go, and Dale promised. It had to be important if she'd called after so many years. Lise explained that she felt odd about him adopting her. He interrupted to ask why she had waited so long. It caused her to cry, but he had to know the reason. It had been stuck in his brain for years. Finally, she pulled herself together to tell her dad the truth. While in college, Lise met a woman who had been adopted, and they decided to learn about their biological parents. Her friend convinced her not to talk to Dale, and then it had been too long. She worried he didn't want to speak to her, and he said that could never happen. She'd gotten her birth parents' records, going to the house to visit. However, she was robbed and lost everything. Still, she didn't lose hope and had found that her parents didn't live in that same home. A neighbor said they went into rehab for drug addiction. Liz stayed with friends while finishing her degree and going to work. It was hard to find a place, but then she met the love of her life. They moved in together and were still dating. He supported her decision to get in touch with her dad. Overall, Liz worried that Dale wouldn't want to talk to her, and it was hard to track him down. Finally, she went to the old house and got his last known number from the owners. She still had to make the call, but she continued to wait. Dale wanted to be a part of her life and meet her boyfriend. However, he requested to see her in person. They met 2 weeks later, and Hannah and Lisa's boyfriend were both there. Eventually, they moved closer to each other and saw each other often.